Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Cafecito. I'm your host, Christiana. I'm so excited to bring yet another episode to you all. Those of you all who are listening through our newest podcast, we are excited to have you join us. You are free to also check in on our YouTube channel, We The Plug YouTube channel, so you can see the video version of this recording. I also want to give a shout out to our sponsor, We The Plug. We The Plug is a platform that works with early stage founders that are in the ideation stage and working all the way to their first seed round funding, if that's something they're interested in. We also are conduits and connect those that are interested in getting into the tech space to also find opportunities that may be connected to apprenticeships, but eventually be able to be employed by tech companies of large magnitude if that's what they're interested in. If you want to learn more about We The Plug, find us at WeThePlug, THA, not THE.com. Okay, so you guys, I always start with that. Okay, you guys, because listen, everyone that comes on the Cafecito as guests, I personally enjoy. I know there may be other folks that do podcasts and interviews and you're doing them because for whatever reason, right? But for me, I personally enjoy everyone who comes on this show because I recognize the value of who they are and how I can learn from them. And of course, today's guests are no different than anyone else. I am so thrilled and excited to invite and welcome Alexis and Sydney to the Cafecito. Welcome, ladies. Start with you, Alexis. Can you tell the people who you are and what you do? And then I'll jump into Sydney after.
Yeah, I'm Alexis. I mainly go by Lex, typically, mostly because it sounds cooler. Right now, I'm the co-host, co-producer of the new Chitlin Circuit Podcast with my friend Sydney. And by day, I do a good bit of other things. I'm a programmer. I'm a strategist, is what the newest addition to the resume like header.
Hey.
So yeah, mainly though, like across whether I'm like in my cubicle or in my 40 hours time or in my nights and weekends with the creative things I do with Sydney, it's mainly about finding the best way to get something done. That's what I do. Like get it done on time.
I like it. I like it. Sydney.
Yeah, hey everyone. Sydney or friends, family call me Syd. Like Lex said, I'm also co-host of the new Chitlin Circuit podcast and our social media manager of the show. So anything you guys see on the social handles probably came from these hands. But by day, I am a marketer. I work in media and entertainment for Viacom CBS. And also kind of moonlight as I call myself like a pop culture expert, mainly Black pop culture, a budding TikTok enthusiast, and something that I have in my bio right now, a free trial scammer. So if you need any free trials, let me know.
I did see that. And I'm not going to lie, it tickled me so much because I was like, yes, I need that help sometimes because I sign up for stuff and then I forget and I'm like, dang it, they got me.
Oh,
I
yes.
didn't even like it or I didn't need it or I was just checking. Actually, one, I had to report them because they didn't even wait the 7-day trial. They charged me on day 2.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I had to report them. Yeah, they got, so I needed Syd.
Yeah.
No, the what do you call yourself again? The free trial.
She actually gave me this name, a free trial scammer. The pro tip is when you register for some product or service during the free trial period, cancel it that same day, but you continue to use the free trial. And if you like it, you can subscribe. But if you don't, they won't charge you and you won't have to worry about forgetting that you signed up for this trial.
So smart. See, I hope you all that are listening took that tip. Some of you all probably already are doing that, but people like me, I needed to hear that because I got several times and didn't need to be.
Happens to the best of us.
Exactly. All right. So we're drinking something. We're staying hydrated. What do we have going on?
I'm trying to hydrate. I've been very dehydrated this New York summer, so I got a glass of water here.
Yeah, I'm double fisting. I got my glass of water, but I also have a chai that I put way too much sugar in, so we're indulging.
I enjoy a good chai. I am a connoisseur, if you will, of chais. I have many options in my cabinet. So I appreciate that, Lex. So, both of you all shared a little bit about who you are and what you do. The reason why I was so drawn to you, outside of you all being amazing human beings, is you all have this podcast called Chitlin Circuit. And I was introduced to it by my niece, because you all are HBCU, HU specifically, the HU. I know that there's another one, but I know that you all don't acknowledge that. But that other one, also known as Hampton, sorry, I had to say it out loud, they would say they are the HU, but yeah. So I met you all through that channel, and she had shared with me about the Chitlin Circuit, and I thought, oh, okay, well, let me listen to it. And I listened to it, and I just was so engaged. You all immediately kind of had me pulled into this podcast. And so can you all share a little bit about what is the Chitlin Circuit? Like, what is that? What is this podcast about? Is it just you all talking?
Far from it, actually. So initially, Syd and I used to be roommates back when we were at the Mecca, the hilltop, the Howard University. I wasn't gonna drag it like that, but you made me do it, Tina. So we were roommates, and back then we would just spend a lot of like evenings watching just movies we'd find, like really like scrappy filmmaking, like black indie rom-coms. Anyone who's a fan of those movies would remember like things like Boy Bye or Man in 3B. A lot of the same actors you'll see. Sister Code, that's a classic. Yeah. And just generally, we enjoyed them. We liked them a lot. And then after a while, we decided, well, I think the exact phrasing was something like "Girl, podcast." Like that's the but mainly the Chitlin Circuit was a like circuit of film venues, music venues back in the day, where Black artists would go to perform because they couldn't perform anywhere else. And kind of still play the Chitlin Circuit, people will say. But the idea to name our film review podcast, where we review these films, these like Sister Code and Man in 3B, we named it the New Chitlin Circuit, because now the Chitlin Circuit kind of exists in this digital space where instead of a like Black only theater, it's on like the trenches of Amazon Prime or like Tubi, and like the bowels of these streaming services. You really have to look for it. So that's why we named it the New Chitlin Circuit, because it's digital, it's fresh, it's modern, but it's still the same take on Black like media for Black people.
Interesting. So Syd, when you and Lex was having this dialogue about taking something that you all were doing in your downtime while you were in college to the next level, what was it that kind of pushed you into the full, from just thinking about it? Like I said, we talk with people who are in the ideation stage. What moved you from ideation of it to actually implementation?
Yeah, I feel like for a while, Alexis and I, we kind of get on our own two-person tangents, even in our larger friend group, and people are just like, what are y'all talking about? And why are you enjoying it so much? We're having this large group discussion, and we really just we just talk about stuff, and it's interesting to us, and other people gravitate towards it. So I remember telling Alexis while we were still in undergrad, like, hey girl, we're interesting, we're fun, let's do a podcast. Yeah. But it didn't make sense then. We didn't have the financial ability to like finance a podcast or even like figure out like how to record or that kind of thing. And then we were full-time students and also working part-time, so it wasn't feasible. But a year after, almost a year and a half after graduating, I think Alexis really brought it to me. She just sent me a text message like randomly, like one evening, and it's like, hey girl, I found this up and coming like studio in New York City, Black owned. They're looking just to get some other folks in there who are looking to podcast and do their own projects, and for the low, which is kind of great for us because we were still trying to build up our own financial portfolio. So we looked into it, and it kind of felt a little kismet. It happened to be like literally around the corner from my apartment. It was like in dead set in Harlem. Lex was like, literally, it was just like right central Harlem, right there. We could walk there from my apartment to the studio. The guys who were owning this like production company, they had their own podcast. They were just kind of like super nice and friendly and willing to help us out in any way possible. So we went one weekend. She came up from DC and we visited, and we were like, I think we can make this work. And it was affordable too. So like the rates weren't crazy. We could get, like 2 episodes done for like $100 or something. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't bad there. But really we kind of took it honestly like an actual like product and service. So we had lots of business meetings, just the 2 of us on our like Google Duo calls or Zoom. Prior to that, a lot of planning. We had like 10 different names for the show. We wanted to kind of figure out what that would be about, going through like our own personas on the podcast, but like how can we still make our own, personal lives and selves be seen and heard via this like audio show. And then from there, it was really just kind of about like narrowing down. So what do we really want to focus on with this show? It's not just like a review podcast. Like you can read a review on the Hollywood Reporter or, whatever other medium, but like we have our own POVs, but also it's kind of like very homegirl, but how do we bring that, to the masses? So really was just about, one, highlighting these films that don't get the recognition that they deserve, because, people are putting their minds, heart, soul, money into these projects. 2, highlighting these like filmmakers. How can we make this a place for them to feel welcome, to want to come and speak with us? And like, we're not here to bash your movies or even, just kind of give you an overview. We really want to discuss and talk to you about this film. And then 3, how can we kind of like take this from our just like little podcast to something even bigger? So that's kind of where we're at right now, is in this 3rd phase. But once we kind of got into the studio and figured out that like it was easy enough for us to like, edit. Alexa does all of our editing for the show. I handle the social stuff. And then we both kind of like worked together to get interviews. It came together kind of seamlessly at that point. And we're a year and a half in recording the show. We've done like 5 or 6 interviews with actually pretty like prominent filmmakers. We've gotten some really great buzz on the Black indie scene too, which has been nice. So it's been a great journey. A lot of mistakes, obviously, but overall pretty positive.
Wow. One of the things as you were talking, Syd, so many different things were coming to mind as you were talking, because it's, moving from that ideation stage to actually the actionable stage, I think that initial road in between is really challenging, because it requires a lot of self-motivation, tenacity, follow through, accountability, all those things. And it sounds like you and Lex was really in sync with that. Lex, can you talk a little bit about what that process was? Because one of the things that a lot of our founders go through is identifying teammates. I mean, when you're building a product or service, more often than not, you need someone, multiple people usually, to help you with that. How did you all move from we're friends and we get along really well to we would be great business partners?
Yeah, I actually see that as like if I didn't know Sydney already, that would have been the hardest part of this. Like Sydney and I, just like you said, Syd, like when we're together in our larger friend group, we were just kind of having this vibe, and everyone's like, okay, let's give them some privacy, because they're like when no one knows what you guys are talking about anymore. So that's a big thing that was already checked off, and it really felt natural. And I think like the way Sydney described getting the ideation to launch on the new Chitlin Circuit was spot on. But I feel like as soon as we finished that first session, like as soon as we finished recording, the trailer and the first 2 episodes, our first episode was actually, they always say your first podcast episode is going to be bad. Ours was great. That's a flex. We were bragging about that. It's still, we're 70 episodes in, and still I listen back to that. Wow. Now episode 6, 7 around there, I can't speak for, but but after that, like it was like, okay, we're from ideation into a real thing now, but it started a whole nother loop. It started a whole nother like process of ideation, because now we're like, okay, well, we got the new Chitlin Circuit from idea to, some raw tracks to a real show with people who like really engage with it, and like a filmmaker, like a community of filmmakers who are like excited that we're engaging with their media. But then it's like, okay, it's not just the the mission of the podcast, but now it's like, well, we actually like producing things. So maybe now it's the ideation of how can we produce more things? You know what I'm saying? So the mission of the podcast is to uplift Black independent filmmakers, which is like, we try and achieve that mission every week. But now we're like, maybe we need to have a bigger mission for more products, for more forms of media. And that's kind of where we're in the ideation stage of now. So this was really more of like two friends wanting to start a podcast and ended up being in more of like a product first type of development into an entire like suite of other products and like other like ventures.
It's something that Syd had mentioned earlier too, in addition to what you're sharing right now, where you all sat and strategized and you literally took this serious. I think that's something, in addition to knowing that your personalities are in sync and you seem to be able to work well together. Even I'm sure you all have disagreements, and I've listened to all of your podcasts, even this last Monday, because literally I am a fan. Like I don't just listen for the sake of saying, oh, these are my niece's friends, and now they're kind of like my friends, and I'm like they auntie, and it's like your show is really good. The commentary is really good, and it's interesting enough that it makes you want to go and watch it. So one of the things that I really respect and appreciate about how you all went about this is that you saw the opportunity to do something together, and then you built on that. And I can tell, even when we're talking right now and other times I've seen you all together, you're really respectful of each other's opinion and space, and you listen to each other. And I think those are really key to a strong team, because when that is felt on both sides, then you're more willing to lean in and, to your point, Lex, move forward with additional ventures that start to manifest based on what you guys have already started working on right now. So I hope you all that are listening are taking notes from this, because again, it doesn't just start with, oh, we're cool, we're good friends, or we like each other, we should start a business. It's more thought that's put into that. Syd, did you want to add something? I saw you like starting to say something like she had a thought.
It is true. And I'm just like thinking just to conversation that we have behind the scenes on the pod, like, we do get along very well, but we do also have our moments where it's like, all right, girl, we'll talk tomorrow. I just can't. Let's have this conversation. And we've both been there with each other. So like it happens, but I think we've gotten really good just working on the show and this, our own little venture now and our next project, like you're saying, being respectful of each other's opinions. And then, like our friendship is this thing, and then our business relationship is another. So we've gotten really good, I think, of separating the two. And then when they need to come together, they do come together well. So
yeah, Syd. I think because I just forgot that this conversation is like going to be heard by other people. Like I was like, yeah, we're just talking. But I think
that's what I love. That's what I want everyone to feel that way when they on the Cafecito. We just have the conversation.
I just remembered that. But
Thank you. I am honored. That makes me feel good, Lex.
Yeah, it's hard to like do. I was like, yeah, we're just having some coffee. I think the other like key thing is also having a why, the purpose. I don't have to like, it's the same thing I felt, because I work a corporate job, and there's like the feelings you feel when you're in a space where you're micromanaged. What I learned about that is like frequently managers do that because they don't trust you with like trying to get to the goal. They don't trust that you're on the same page. So like the easiest way to like get around that is to make sure everybody's working toward the same mission. Me and Sydney have the same exact mission. And I know like, and she knows like anything that we can say to one another is with the intention of getting to that end goal. There's no gap. There's no like difference in what Sydney and I both want to achieve. And that's why it just works. That's why we really like respect each other's methods and ideas, because we both just trying to get to the, like,
trying to get to that end gate right there. First of all, you just dropped it right there. That's a quote right there that I'm gonna like pull out and like really run that, because that is it. when you're thinking about like what is the ingredient for a true team. Like you just said it right there. When that micromanaging comes into place, it's all connected back to trust. And something you said too that struck a chord with me is that, you know, the person may not trust you to carry this through. I think oftentimes it's also back with them not trusting themselves, but not having the self-awareness to be able to process through that, to understand, okay, where is it that I need to work through this because I'm not even trusting myself with how I effectively communicate. And so that's making me second guess everything, including this person. And I think that's so important too. Trust is like a huge piece that I think we miss the marker on, impacting more of our life in our personal and professional than we realize. So, okay, Lex over here dropping gems, off and gems. So I want to transition a little bit into actually the commentary that you all do for these indie films. Specifically, they are Black, Pan-African, right? They are inclusive of African, Black American, as well as Afro-Latino. Okay. So you all obviously are drawn to these films for a reason, right? Whether it's because you just merely enjoy them or you wanted to kind of go off the beaten path of the traditional movies that are, but I guess tell us a little bit, like, what was the draw for you for have an interest in indie films?
Yeah. I mean, I'd say, I think just from our earlier conversations of starting the pod, so even I feel like our earlier episodes too, they were kind of movies that were more, I guess, critically acclaimed and ones that at some point would get some press and some buzz. But with the show in general, we were trying to fill a gap in a hole. So these movies that we just generally enjoy sitting down and watching, like myself personally, like just growing up with my dad is a big movie watcher also. So that's something that he and I would do together. He just likes, he trash talks them, but like we still have a great time watching them together, you know? So like, and Lex is like similarly like enjoys watching these films too. So for us, it's like these movies that don't get any hype, or if they do get some hype, it may be, you know, some small article that you found on a click hole, you know, clicking through a Google search or whatever. So for us, it's like if we can bring it to the forefront, you know, get them some more press, some more attention, but also, you know, getting to show our own thoughts and opinions and our expertise in this medium also is kind of like a win-win for both parties.
Why does that matter, Lex?
I think the why, in like the why after the why, because the first why is we want everybody else to like hear and care about these movies, but the why after that came with time. Like if you like any of the longtime listeners out there can tell the difference between the movies we did when we first started recording and the ones we do now, which like we tend to go for fresher movies, look like a much more like wide variety of genres as well. And I think after a while, after a couple of months, the catalog, the floodgates of indies just kind of opened up, and we started to see a lot more ones that we had never like would have never found otherwise if we weren't so like in the like on the pulse with this particular niche of films. And like it went from we want everybody else to like hear and see these movies to like really more of a like a filmmaker service type of like flip switched, kind of like if you go through the trouble of making this movie, right? You've collected this entire crew of people, you got these actors, you wrote this, you shot this, you edited this, and you like somehow, you know, got to the point where you got it at least distributed to like VOD, like it's on a platform.
Yeah.
Like our vision is for every single time a Black like filmmaker does that, the movie gets talked about by someone, and someone's us. So you can guarantee that like you're going to get some buzz in this movie, you're going to get some reception. You know, even if it's just these two friendly gals with microphones, like, it's going to be someone. And it's also to like take a different take with it, because when that second why came in, it's not just enough to like, one of Sydney's oldest segments on the shows is How Were the Wigs, which is like it's a Black lens on film review, because any Black actor, any Black actress can tell you about the woes of trying to get hair and makeup on set. So like you'd be surprised, indie movies, I'm talking a movie with like maybe $10,000 budget, is doing better in the hair department than many of these Hollywood movies that we're seeing, like blockbuster movies. So it's really about making a different way to consume movies in like a critical way. Like we can talk about what it means to us, and like even, you know, sometimes I get a little technical. Syd lets me be a snob every couple of weeks. So, not every week, but every couple of weeks I get to be a snob. But even looking at you shut it down, you go, Alexis. And it's really about there's no filling the niche. Originally it was about filling the niche of no one's talking about these movies. And then it became filling the niche of no one talks about movies in this way. We don't care if you did your audio on a phone. We don't care if the movie was shot on a phone. We're here for a story. And like, if you can give us that, but it's gritty and you got the aspect ratio off, it don't matter. Just give us a good story and we can consume it that way.
So what is do you all know like the percentage of indie films that are made by Black filmmakers, like that even like get any type of press? Is it even on the radar? Like, do we even hit?
I'm a data analyst by day, and I feel like I should have that number. That's actually a good marketing tidbit for us to know. I don't know that number actually. Syd, do you have an idea?
I don't have a number. I'm just like thinking just generally, like, unless it's like super art house or like for whatever reason, a Black indie filmmaker, you know, they have one film under their belt and now they have this second big budget blockbuster movie coming out, then their first film will get a whole lot of buzz. But that's like very rare from what I've seen. Like, it's just, a few of the directors that we've like actually done their films, they've hit it off, but on a bigger scale. But most times they're just kind of like staying in this pocket, which is fine because, you know, we enjoy them and they have an audience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought about that when both of you all was talking, and Lex, when you were kind of sharing the bigger picture here of the why, I just started thinking, I was like, you know, how many even get on the radar? And I mean, if it wasn't for Netflix, there are a lot of them we wouldn't even see available, because where will we see it unless we're sharing information within our network, and or we're somehow in that film space, or have family member or friends in that film space that then are coming to us saying, oh, you need to check this out. Oh, you have access. So I appreciate that, because for me, that's what the Chitlin Circuit does for me. So you all bring something home to me that I would not otherwise know where to look or find. I mean, I would have to go digging, but I'm not a film buff that much to put forth that effort. And so you all kind of fill that that void for me. I really want to know about these movies, but I don't have the time to go searching for it. Oh well. Like, and I feel like it's necessary for us. Like, it's part of our culture, but I think that it's still connected to that kind of entrepreneurial mindset. It's just in the creative space, and they're building their business, which is this film career, and bringing to like stories that matter. I think you all do such a beautiful job of recapping, and now you're on the timer, Lex, with your recap of, and I'll be like rooting for you. I'm like, oh my God, what is it? 30 seconds you give her?
It's 60 seconds. Can I tell you the story about how that came to be?
Tell the story, because I be sweating for it. I'm like, oh my God, is she gonna do it? Especially when you start to be like, well, and I'm like, oh Lord, is she gonna make it? Oh Lord.
So when we first started the podcast, it was just straight talk. It was roll the music and we're gonna talk 40 minutes about this movie. Right. And as we kept going, like what would happen every single time, we would have a like moderately like a well-known filmmaker would listen to the podcast we did of that movie. And then it suddenly, like after I see the comments, Sydney sends me the comment or like the email, I'm like, suddenly I feel like somebody's in my house and I got clothes all over the place. I need to clean this up. That's suddenly I'm feeling that way. So like immediately, I think it was, is it pronounced Nilja, the lady who did Nilja?
Yeah.
Nilsha.
Mm-hmm. Nilsha. Yeah.
Yes. I forget her last name, but she did a movie that we review with Simone Missick in it. And I was like, oh, we need some structure to this. Because that episode was great, but there were so many good tidbits that were buried so deep in the episode. So I was like, okay, we need to front load some of this because sometimes people want to pause after they listen to the episode, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And it was actually the movie John Henry, which was, if anyone has seen it, the Netflix movie Terry Crews. It was one of the, it wasn't the cream of the crop of movies. It was a very wild plot. It was just, it was all over the place. So I just said to Sydney, you know what? Give me 60 seconds. I'm going to try to explain this in 60 seconds. And that was probably our first like permanent segment, or our second permanent segment, because we always had Who Can Act. So after that episode, I started describing all the movies in 60 seconds or less. And sometimes I don't quite get it in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
I'll be rooting for you though. I'll be like, come on, you can do it. But yeah, so that you literally are speaking to what I'm saying, is that you're recapping for us and giving us a really great picture of what it is that we can expect from this. And I think that you all do it in such a way where, yes, you share your opinions, but it's not so influenced in the show that you only hear you all's opinion and only, I mean, you all, I think, do a really good job of kind of giving us a variety of discussion that causes us to be more methodical about what it is that we're going to watch. And even then, when we go to watch it, we are having the narrative in our head of you all talking about different things. And then we are able to be more critical, not in a negative way, but just, I think it just requires, we are requiring a little bit more of ourselves instead of just kind of being passive with watching, which is great because sometimes you just need to tune out and have the TV on, you know, and watch what you watch. But I think it's also really great to be actively engaged. And I think possibly the filmmaker would appreciate it, because then that would cause us to then, like with you all, like after I was watching listening to one of your podcasts, I went and found your social media because I was like, oh my God, I need to respond to like it may, and I feel like that's what this does, or that's what you all are doing, is kind of creating the environment that would trigger someone like me who, yeah, I would love to watch these movies. It's like, I'm not going to go out of my way looking for it. You all kind of serve it up on a platter for me and like, here, okay, we're here for people like you. Now go do something with it. Now I can take an action. Now I go and seek out these people. A lot of these people I'm now following and found out that they do other stuff. Some of them are artists. They're painters, they're designers. And so I'm finding their stuff online. I'm buying their things. And I think that, you know, and for those of you all who are listening, you know, I think it's so important that we're talking about the domino effect that this can have. Like, these two people started this podcast out of a passion and a love that they had for film, and especially film that are made by African-American and Pan-African groups of folks. And then it kind of blossomed into this podcast. But the impact that it's having for those, and I know I'm not the only one that is experiencing something like this, and I'm sure there are folks that are experiencing much greater than I, but that's what you all are doing. You guys are kind of putting me in a position where I'm able to be exposed to things that I possibly wouldn't have been exposed to unless I, again, took out time to dig. Like I said, I now have like art from different artists that I would never have known about if it wasn't for me listening to the podcast, and then from there finding these filmmakers and then doing research and then finding out all these other things. So I just want to say thank you to you all, because you've opened up another door, maybe unbeknownst to you, to us circulating the dollar on another level within our community.
Love that. Yeah.
I feel like that's another why. Boom.
Right.
Yeah. So as we're wrapping up, one of the things that I always ask is for the action. what is the action that you want those to take, whether it's an action that's on a personal level, a community level. Obviously, we want y'all to tune into the podcast, the Chitlin Circuit. But what is an action that you would encourage those listening or watching to take?
I got mine. I want to hear yours. So.
Yeah, from the show, number one, obviously go out and check out these films, and tap into the filmmaking. But I just start a conversation, just kind of share what you've heard, make it a coffee table talk or a dinner talk. I think a lot of some of the stuff we have to say can be a little, on to the left a little bit, but stuff that you can talk about with your friends and family. I always think there's a little nugget here to grab, and then start something else there. And then it'll be, like you said, a domino effect and the snowball effect. And it's this greater, larger conversation, and who knows where it can end up there. But that's all I want to do. I guess that's what I would like people to take from it. Just have something else to, share about, obviously share the show, but, share some tidbits from the show too. Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm. Lex?
In addition to Sydney's, because I agree with everything you just said, for film viewers, for Black folks who want to see Black folks on screen, I'm actually not going to ask anything of you all. I'm going to ask you not to do something. Don't say it's just slave movies and gangster movies no more. Because we have so many Black films made by Black people they're waiting for you. So watch them when you're ready. Listen to the new Chitlin Circuit. We can walk you through. We have plenty of recommendations. So that's for the film viewers. And for aspiring filmmakers, or even filmmakers who may be, working on something, just make it. I've seen some of the movies I really enjoyed on the show, watching and reviewing for the show, shoestring budget, just scrappy filmmaking, probably have one camera, no microphones, things like that, and still enjoyable if it's a good story. So even thinking about the way me and Sydney produced this, we started this podcast before we even had mics and headphones and stuff. So and it came out to be something valuable. So still just do it. And I promise, if it's a movie, you got two girls who are going to say something nice about it. And if it's something else, I'm positive there's a community waiting for it. So don't make us wait for it until you got everything together. Just do it. Man,
listen, and Nike made a whole entire $1 billion business off of saying just do it. Okay. No, those are words of wisdom, and I hope those are listening take that to heart, because it is taking the next step of action. And even when you don't have everything you need, I agree with you all 100%. That's how We The Plug got started. That's how I started my consulting business. That's how I started the Cafecito. It was I don't know, I never interviewed no one before, but I just stepped out and just did it, and knew that my foot would land, and then I just learned and just keep learning. And so I appreciate that. Can you all tell the people where to find you?
Yeah, I'll take the lead on that. So you can find us on Instagram at New Chitlin Circuit, and Chitlin is spelled CHITLIN. On Twitter, we're at TNCC Pod. Facebook is also New Chitlin Circuit. And then if you want to check out our website to see just our latest episodes, it's thenewchitlincircuit.com. So we're all there.
That's true. And just a quick note, me and Sydney are in development for our next project. So don't always, don't count us out. We're more than just a New Chitlin Circuit. We got plenty coming down the pike for everybody. So if you really love these two voices, we'll be using them for many other things.
That's what actually I was going to have you also share, Lex, is for those that may be interested in being interviewed, how would they get in touch with you all? And then also if there are any things specifically you guys are working on and that you are wanting people to reach out to you all for, you want to share with us?
Yeah, for interview inquiries, whether you guys, someone may want to interview us, or you're interviewed on the show, if you're a filmmaker, if you're an indie actor, actress, producer, anything involving indie film, we would love to have you on the show. We'd love to talk to you about your projects. That's at dnewschitlin.circuit@gmail.com. That's the email, right, Syd?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Okay. And the project we're in development for right now still has a working title, so I won't commit a title. But if you follow us on socials, you will see the announcements for that in a couple of months. We're working on a investigative storytelling podcast limited series that was going to come out next spring.
Ooh, I am definitely registering for that one. Well, I just want to say thank you, Lex and Syd, for taking out the time to speak with us today. You all have been such a inspiration, like I said, to me personally, with what you all are doing, and I've learned a lot.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for spending time with us. You all have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Thanks.